For generations, hormonal teens have hidden away in dark closets and basements to do just one thing: meddle with supernatural forces beyond earthly comprehension. In this small Texas town, a harem of cheerleaders just want to get busy with the team's new transfer quarterback. Instead, they'll face off against a demonic cockblocker who's hell-bent on preserving their chastity, no matter how much blood is spilled in the process. So take a seat and pucker up as we break down the mistakes made, what you probably should do, and how to beat the demon-possessed ghost in Spin the Bottle. The year is 1978, and music fills the night air around an isolated farmhouse in Jennings, Texas. Inside, rosy-cheeked Carter is admiring the home's creepy snake-themed decor. He snaps back to reality with the arrival of his apparent sweetheart, Lorelei, who offers him an ice-cold beer from the nearby cooler. Like the house itself, Lorelei seems more than a little off. Her outdated clothes and sheepish demeanor stick out among the rest of the hip 70s youths gathered in her home. Handing over the bottle, she timidly voices her concerns at the arrival of this group, since she thought it would be just the two of them spending the evening together. Carter brushes off her objections as one of the uninvited guests announces that she has a great game for them to play. They'll just need the darkest, coziest little space to cram into together. The cellar should do nicely. Before Lorelei can stop them, the group is off to find the cellar door. But just as the teens arrive at their destination, an exacerbated Lorelei jumps in their way, blocking the door with her body. She explains that it's not a cellar, but a chapel, and that they're not allowed to enter. After some gentle coaxing and the promise of some fun with Carter downstairs, the kids manage to convince her to let them pass. If the upstairs of this house was creepy, the chapel is giving full-blown cult vibes. This den of worship has something for everyone: mysterious symbols, occult writings, even a live rattlesnake. The astonished teens can hardly believe their eyes as they dig the crazy, far-out scene. I mean, remember, it is the 70s here. Meanwhile, an increasingly manic Lorelei insists that they return upstairs. Coming down here was a mistake, and her father would kill her if he knew what they were up to. Undeterred, Carlene, the group's obvious instigator, proceeds to explore further into the cellar's depths. On the other side of town, a lone vehicle travels down a nearby dirt road. The driver, a young man in a priest's collar, arrives at the house. He parks his station wagon and steps out onto the property, approaching the front porch with flashlight in hand. Back in the cellar, Carlene has emerged from the darkness with the perfect prop for their little game: a totally not disgusting old bottle of some kind of scaly-looking substance. Lorelei implores her to put the bottle back, saying it's her daddy's most sacred object. A little reassurance from Boothang Carter quickly shuts her up, and the gang is free to begin their session of Spin the Bottle. But where do we set up? Directly on top of the pentagram, of course. Lorelei, Carter, Carlene, and the rest of the mop-topped interlopers get busy spinning and smooching. Caught up in their activities, they don't hear the increasingly panicked knocks at the front door from the priestly figure, who is calling out to Lorelei to let him in. As the game goes on, Lorelei grows visibly jealous as Carter sucks face with several of their female companions. Seeming to react to her energy, the scaly bottle starts to vibrate ominously, uncorking itself to let out a strange, smoky substance. Right about now, the house begins to shake and the teens decide that it's time to get the out of here. The preacher man abandons the porch and finds a basement window to peer through as the lights inside the house flicker. And it looks like he's arrived just in time to see Lorelei unleash a blast of psychokinetic energy that sends Carlene crashing to the floor. And he can only watch in horror as Lorelei turns to face him with a detached, otherworldly stare. Okay, this bunch is obviously thinking with parts other than their brains. I mean, a round of Spin the Bottle in this girl's creepy up devil basement? Clearly their sense of self-preservation is no match for their teenage horniness. With roots as far back as the 1920s, Spin the Bottle was a popular party game with teens throughout pretty much the 20th century. Though few probably faced stakes as high as what's shown in this version of the game. Facing off against a boy-crazy ghoul with telekinetic powers is no easy task. But still, some quick thinking could have helped the partygoers survive their brush with the supernatural. Since the rest of the group meet their fate off camera, we'll focus on Carlene for now. Like for starters, this catastrophe could have been avoided entirely with some basic threat assessment. Upon arriving in the cellar, Carlene and her friends should have immediately known that they were in for a bad time. Like, gee, pentagrams and a sheet scrawled with threatening religious text. Let's see where this is going. Since none of them had the good sense to hightail it out of there, the next best option would be to arm yourself at the first sign of danger. I mean, as soon as the bottle began to move on its own or release its ungodly gaseous emission, Carlene should have been on her feet and hunting for whatever weapon she could lay her hands on. In a pinch, a candlestick or that groovy-looking ankh hanging on the wall could do as a makeshift club. Or better yet, grab the rattlesnake from its tank and hurl it at your attacker. And if it doesn't bite you, you've at least bought yourself some time to get away. Oh, and let's not forget, you're in the basement of a religious fundamentalist here. I mean, there's a good chance there are firearms on these premises, and an even greater chance that they're stored in this very room. Instead of standing around while this demonic bitch goes carry on your asses, quickly scan the room for guns. One well-timed shot could be the difference between an early grave and living to spin the bottle another day. Present-day teen Cole Nichols is visiting his mother at the Corley Wellness Center in Houston. Mom is there seeking rest and mental health treatment following the suicide of her husband, Cole's father. The two are discussing Cole's plan to enroll at Oak Ridge High School in Jennings, Texas, where they'll soon move to a certain abandoned property that has been passed down to them by family. Cole will begin the process of fixing up the place, and his mother will join him in 2 weeks once her stint at the wellness center is up. 2 full weeks in a mental institution? Oh, she must have great insurance. Before they part, Cole's mom offers him a few helpful reminders, like her childhood in their soon-to-be home was a non-stop white-knuckle nightmare. He should never go into the cellar, and he should absolutely, under no circumstances, let anyone in the town know that he's connected to the Randall family. To the surprise of no one, Cole arrives at the same property that was previously inhabited by Lorelei. The windows are boarded up, but the place seems to be in okay shape otherwise, aside from a few cobwebs and spooky knickknacks left over from the previous tenants. No shortage of creepy dolls here. Cole brings his bags inside and begins to take stock of his new home. He'll definitely have his work cut out for him to make this place livable, but that will have to wait. Football tryouts are later that day, and he plans to compete for a spot on Oak Ridge High's varsity squad. At the combination/football cheerleading tryout, Cole is greeted by team manager Casey. The two engage in some mandatory flirtation as cheerleaders Mila and Sophie look on, each claiming the new meat as their own. Thankfully, Cole is soon rescued from all this female attention by the head football coach. Coach takes his new protege under his wing and begins running him through the playbook, when 2 of the team's starters wand over to make themselves known. There's Weston, the hefty and obnoxious starting quarterback, and Travis, the token defensive back. Coach introduces Cole as Weston's potential backup, prompting the portly captain to give his understudy the nickname QB2. Cole is then set loose on the field, running the team's offense through a few plays to show off what he can do. He leads a successful drive with minimal effort, and Travis steps in on defense to show the newbie what's up, only to get absolutely smoked by Cole's superior mobility. Needless to say, Cole's newfound female admirers are all thoroughly impressed. Okay, the new kids clearly got some moves, but this is Texas, baby. Football is life. I mean, you gonna let him come in your house and embarrass you like that? I didn't think so. Now, Cole Nichols is a dangerous dual-threat quarterback. I mean, he's out here lighting up the secondary like a 4th of July fireworks show, and it's going to take some careful planning to stop the bleeding. Here's a play-by-play on how to slow his ass down and retain a shred of dignity. First play, Nichols calls waggle right, but the running back never slides in for the fake, no matter as there's 0 pocket pressure. He finds the slant for an easy 8 yards. Here, the defensive ends and tackles need to collapse the pocket quicker. Now, a waggle doesn't set deep, it's designed for a quick throw. Ends should have pushed upfield faster to force Nichols to throw under duress or break his timing. Without the running back selling the fake, the linebackers should have read pass earlier. Linebackers should have dropped into coverage to disrupt the slant lane or at least make Nichols think twice. Second play of the drive, he hits the post with an easy lob at the top of his route. These second-string DBs are getting eaten alive. Soft coverage leaves too much space for Nichols to hit the post route in rhythm. The defense should have brought pressure to disrupt the route timing. A delayed blitz or a stunt from the D-line could have forced Nichols to release the ball earlier or off target. Now the third play, defense shows blitz. He fakes the handoff and rolls out to the left, runs through his progression but doesn't like any of the options and decides to take off. Big Trav gets hurtled in the open field and Cole takes it to the house. This time the blitz showed 2 too early, letting Nichols read and adjust to the pressure pre-snap. Egos aside, a faster, more agile player should have been assigned as the quarterback spy. Travis can't be the last line of defense out there. Once Cole is in the open field, he's nearly impossible to stop. Okay, now get your heads out of your asses and play some D. Later in the school parking lot, Cole is chatting up Mila and Sophie when Weston and Travis roll up. After some light ribbing from his new teammates, Cole agrees to join the group for a hangout sesh. The girls pile into his truck and team manager Casey comes running to join them at the last minute. It turns out that she and Mila are actually besties. It's also explained that Mila and Travis are on-again, off-again lovebirds. With the pecking order established, there's nothing left to do but choose a destination. Conveniently, the football team has a little tradition. Whenever a new player joins the squad, he has to host the group that night. So it looks like it's off to Cole's filthy, doll-filled murder house. When they arrive, Cole's new friends immediately clock this place as the house where all those murders happened. His mom simply bought the place to fix it up and flip it. Inside, Mila spots a portrait of Lorelai and recounts the story of how the girl wasted a group of her classmates with a shotgun one fateful night in the cellar, a version of events that differs slightly from what we know. One broken lock later, everyone is headed downstairs to check out the infamous crime scene. It seems that little has changed inside the cellar since the night that Lorelai had her meltdown, and the group notes that the apparent bloodstains on the floor are definitely left over from the incident in the 1970s. But pentagrams and burnt-out candles aren't the only things that remain, and Mila wastes no time finding the accursed bottle amongst the clutter. At this point, it's time to get down old school and relive the local legend with a round of spin the bottle. After agreeing to some ground rules, like kiss or drink basically, the game is ready to begin. With beers in hand, they get to spinning, makeouts, underage drinking, some light homophobia, and lesbian lip-locking. It's all pretty standard fare until the ground begins to shake. Mila reaches for the bottle and feels an instant shock, which she chalks up to static electricity, glass being such a great conductor of current after all. With her final spin of the bottle, Mila leads her beau Travis off for a bonus round in the filthy back room. Disgusted by their surroundings, Travis is ready to take the party to a cleaner setting, but drama lover Mila insists that they continue. She gets more than what she bargained for when the two are visited by Lorelai's ghostly apparition, which sends Mila screaming back to the other room. Mia hastily hails an Uber before running from the house. Travis catches up with her outside, where the distraught cheerleader wonders why her driver is taking so long. He reminds her that they're about a mile away from the main road and offers to drive her himself until her Uber finally arrives. In the car, she's once again visited by Lorelai's ghost, causing her to panic and jump out of the moving vehicle. Convinced that she's on drugs, the driver leaves her to fend for herself. Alone on the open road, Mila is yet again confronted by Lorelai, who lunges at her with murderous intent. Okay, Mila's Uber rating is definitely taking a hit after this ride from hell. Mia's first mistake was breaking the cardinal rule of any emergency situation, which is never split up. Being confronted by Lorelai's ghost is obviously a shocking and traumatic experience, but separating her from her friends only makes matters worse. The group is all familiar with the house's creepy reputation. By staying calm and explaining what she's just seen, perhaps they could have begun to make sense of things and planned for their continued survival. I mean, assuming she just couldn't keep it together, Mila's next major goof is exiting the car, which, we get it, this snake-faced girly is scary as hell. For whatever reason, Lorelai seems reluctant to attack when there are others present. So let the driver think you're a crazy drug addict. Just power through and stay in the damn Uber until you reach your destination. Look, we've all shared public transit with some less than savory characters, right? Can't be much worse than 15 minutes in the back seat with a ghost. Still, there's no guarantee Lorelai would have left Mila alone if her ride made it home. With the safety in numbers strategy in mind, her best bet was to return to her friends as soon as she stepped out of the car. Luckily for her, she has her phone in hand. She's on an isolated road in the Texas backcountry. Would she even have cell phone signal? All signs do point to yes, because in the distance, the red lights from the radio towers are clearly visible. Now today, these towers commonly double reliable as carriers for cellular service. With modern 5G signals carrying a range of up to 3 miles, it's very likely that Mila could have called for help. As Travis previously mentioned, the road leading up to Cole's house was only about a mile away from the main road. Having spent just a few minutes in the Uber, Mila was probably within half a mile or less of her starting point, perhaps just enough to avoid Lorelai's final deadly attack. Alone following all the commotion, Cole is shaken from his restless sleep by a knock at the door. It's local lawman Sheriff Stanton, who also happens to be Casey's father, and he has a lot of questions about the now missing Mila's whereabouts. Cole's background is another hot topic of discussion, and he's finally forced to admit that he is a member of the loathsome Randall clan, the grandson of Old Man Randall on his mother's side, to be exact. After filling the county's top cop in on the broad strokes from the night before, Cole is left alone after some typical don't mess with my daughter stuff from the mustachioed sheriff. While inspecting some family heirlooms, Cole gets a call from Casey. The word is out. The townsfolk have heard that Mila was last seen leaving his house. And perhaps worse, suspicion is growing that he's connected to the Randalls. She suggests that he take refuge at Weston's hunting cabin until the heat dies down. She'll meet him there later, but in the meantime, she's going to look for Mila. Cole arrives at the property to find Weston and Travis shooting clay pigeons with a shotgun, and it's not long before Weston is brandishing the firearm in Cole's face, interrogating him about Mia's disappearance. This intimidation is soon revealed to be Weston's idea of a joke, but Cole isn't exactly laughing. Before any quarterback-on-quarterback violence can ensue, bikini-clad Sophie arrives with beers to ease the tension and get the party started. Sure, their friend is missing after suffering an apparent psychotic episode, but Travis insists that there's really nothing to worry about, just more of Mila's trademark dramatics. Unconvinced, Cole leaves to get to the bottom of what's really going on, which consists mainly of looking through old newspaper articles on an iPad in his living room. Cole's armchair investigation is interrupted by another knock at the door. It's Casey, and she's starting to think that maybe something was up with that bottle that they were playing with the night before. The two go to take a closer look, and Cole entrusts Casey with the knowledge that he is in fact a Randall and that Lorelai, of murder spree fame, was his aunt. He's truly ignored every last piece of advice his mom gave him, and so far, I would say it's going great. Back in the cellar and fully horned up from the forbidden fruit, my dad would kill me if he knew I was here nature of the proceedings, Casey and Cole have no luck finding the mysterious bottle. That's because Sophie stuffed it in her purse during Mila's freakout when nobody was looking. Casey sees something in the darkness down there and begins to theorize that maybe their little game of spin the bottle was disrespectful, angering Lorelai's restless spirit. This thought is quickly interrupted by the sound of Sophie upstairs banging on the door in apparent distress. In what turns out to be another one of Weston's dumb jokes, they find Sophie in the front yard with fake blood trickling down her face. Cole has had enough and the two begin to scuffle, but the dust-up is interrupted by news of a real tragedy. Casey's dad phones to inform her of the news. Mila's body has been found and the cops are calling it a suicide. As you can imagine, the vibes at school the next day are absolutely rancid, and Mila's funeral, which Cole has opted to attend, are even worse. In a touching eulogy for her friend, Mila calls the suicide narrative into question. And damn straight. I mean, as far as the family is concerned, it's that Randall boy who's to blame for her death. Before the townsfolk can fetch their pitchforks, Sheriff Stanton rescues Cole and sends him on his way. Later at Mila's wake, the gang decide to honor her memory with a tribute benefiting their fallen friend, which is to say getting blackout drunk and playing Spin the Bottle. Wake crasher JP, a meddling acquaintance of the group, decides to join and takes the first spin. Sophie is soon called into action to teach her a lesson, with their rather tame activities once again sending the bottle into fits. It's now Sophie's turn for a freakout, and Casey calls it quits on this round of fun and games by taking possession of the bottle. Host Weston bids farewell to his guests as Sophie is chased around the outdoors by Lorelai's ghost before bumping into Travis. Cole drives Casey home as the two ponder the nature of the bottle's power. He resolves to rid them of its dark influence by burning it somewhere far away the following morning. Meanwhile, back at his cabin, Weston is entertaining JP in his bedroom. But before they can get too far, his truck alarm starts going off and totally kills the mood. He cautiously steps aside, shutting off the alarm and grabbing his shotgun from the cab of the truck. Voices call out to him ominously from the woods nearby. Growing increasingly nervous, Weston shouts a warning to his unseen assailant, only to have his head pulled back way through the driver's side window by Lorelai's ghost. Impaled on the jagged glass, blood spurts up through the gash in Weston's throat as he gurgles his final breath. JP is drawn outside by the reactivated truck alarm and finds Weston in pretty bad shape. She runs screaming back to the cabin and into the waiting arms of Lorelai. Okay, well, I guess Cole just got promoted to quarterback 1. What's the matter, Weston? Your truck doesn't have a keyless entry? Hit that alarm off button on the fob and get back to bed. Assuming he just can't wait to assess any possible mistreatment of his ride, retrieving the shotgun isn't the worst move Weston could pull here. Now he's armed and ready to squabble up with any potential interlopers. It's the whole "who's out there?" yelling at unseen shadows in the night routine where he really goes astray. Maybe he thinks one of his friends is simply repaying him for all the tasteless jokes over the years. Whatever the case, taking up a defensive position would give this hapless play caller his best chance for survival. As we see, standing slack-jawed in front of the truck's side window leaves Weston completely vulnerable to attacks from behind. Instead, he should have taken a knee in front of the vehicle's driver's side wheel. This position provides cover from the back, leaving him free to survey the woods in front of him if he really must. In reality, beating it back to the cabin as soon as the shotgun was secured would have given this glutton the best odds of avoiding his fate. Still, it's unlikely a shotgun would do much good against the forces at play here. Returning to JP and calling his friends for backup could offer at least some temporary protection via the strength in numbers principle established before. And what can be said about JP? She was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. We first see this clueless member of the JV cheerleading squad acting like a total phony on Instagram Live during Mila's wake, despite the fact that Mila hated her guts, as Casey is quick to point out. Next, she seems keen to earn some social capital by climbing into bed with the school's starting quarterback. Yet another case of clout chasing gone wrong. JP could have lived a long, productive life if she'd simply stayed in her lane and out of the drama, far away from these seniors and their screwed up party games. The next morning, Cole wakes to another visit from a very pissed off Sheriff Stanton. The murdered bodies of Weston and JP have been found, and signs are pointing to our boy being involved somehow. Luckily, Casey emerges from inside the house to vouch for Cole's whereabouts the night before. Awkward! Stanton sends his daughter to wait in the car as he finally starts to spill the tea on the Randall family drama. It turns out that Cole's grandfather was pretty nasty, and people unfortunate enough to cross his path had a tendency to disappear. He tells Cole about some uncomfortable rumors that once circulated about his family, but that's pretty much all we get. Conveniently, Cole finds a note stuck to his windshield from Father Harris, who was last seen sulking around Mila's funeral, telling him to visit the church at sundown for the rest of the story. In the meantime, Cole decides to visit his mom to get her side of the story. As she tells it, her family was always extremely religious. That is, until her dad took things a little too far and started dabbling in the demonic. Obsessed with the idea of gaining mastery over a demon, old man Randall built a chapel in their family's cellar to work on his craft. Randall succeeded in contacting the dark side, trapping a demon in a special bottle that had been passed down through his family for generations. Lorelai was somehow used as bait in these rituals to tame and entice the evil spirit. And also, she was Cole's mom's mom and not her sister, apparently. The staff at the institution have had enough of Cole riling up his mom and send him on his way. It's time to visit Father Harris at the First Pentecostal for his third straight exposition dump of the day. Meanwhile, Casey meets up with Travis and Sophie to plan their next move. At the church, Father Harris explains that he was suspicious of the unholy work being conducted by Cole's grandfather all those years ago. Growing concerned for Lorelai's well-being, he went to check on her one night, the very same night of the infamous mass murder, which he recounts to Cole in great detail. Using her powers, Lorelai manipulates the bottle to make it land on Carter during her turn at Spin the Bottle. Cheater! Refusing to kiss her, it becomes clear that Carter had no genuine interest in the unfortunate girl. The team teens are simply there to witness the Randell freak show firsthand, and Carter doubles down on the cruelty with some pretty unkind words. Overcome with heartbreak and anger, Lorelai is possessed by the demonic force from the bottle and unleashes her wrath on her tormentors. Harris watches on as Lorelai ragdolls two of the teens with her mind. Carter grabs a nearby rifle, but Lorelai swiftly disarms him, crushing his ribcage with the butt of his weapon. She then pops one of the horrified girls in the back just as Father Harris arrives through the cellar door. He finds Lorelai crouched over Carter's body, engaged in some supernatural mouth-to-mouth action. After a little pep talk from his pastor, Lorelai regains her senses. Seeing what she's done, the distraught teen/demonic vessel turns the gun on herself before Harris can intervene. Oh, Carter. I guess it's true what they say, looks are not everything. This girl's family is obviously into some messed up shit, and the ground is literally shaking beneath your feet as she grows more and more agitated. Maybe don't call her a freak to her face, because Carter, my boy, you f***ed up. I don't know what else there is to say. And I mean, look, we've all been there, okay? Your friends want to get a look inside the local haunted house, so you volunteer as bait to entice the owner's homeschooled daughter. But then, once it's time to back up all your big talk, performance anxiety kicks in, and you and all your mates end up dead on the floor. More than anyone else in this story, Carter has the power to stop the unfortunate events to come. Just kiss her, dumb ass. Sure, she doesn't have Farrah Fawcett bangs or a halter top, but she's kinda cute for a sheltered religious zealot. She might even know a thing or two about snake handling, if you catch my drift. Now, obviously, the easy way out would have been to give the girl a peck on the cheek, thank her for the lovely evening, and be on your way. But as Lorelai is laying waste to his friends with her freaky mind powers, Carter manages to bungle another golden opportunity at survival. As one of his pals is discovering exciting new ways to bend his neck, Carter lays hands on a hunting rifle that was hanging on a wall nearby. And as luck would have it, it's even loaded. You can hear him chamber around as he spins to point the muzzle directly at Lorelai's midsection. Game over, right? Actually, wrong. Rather than simply pulling the trigger, Carter decides to pause awkwardly for a few more seconds. Maybe he's thinking about going in for that kiss after all. The truly hilarious thing about how this ends for our boy is that Lorelai doesn't even need her powers to dispense with him. She simply snatches the gun and bashes him in the sternum with the butt of the weapon like the little that he is. And in the end, it looks like Lorelai got her kiss after all. Be a decent person. Make the most of the hand you're dealt in life. If Carter had played by these basic principles, everything could have turned out differently. Instead, generations of teenagers have to pay the price for his dumb behavior. Nice going, Carter. You f***ed up. Back in the present day, the trio of Casey, Sophie, and Travis arrive just in time to catch the Padres' tale of woe. It's time to get down to business and take the fight to Lorelai before any more of their friends get killed. But what exactly are they dealing with? A ghost or a demon? Well, both actually. Co-opted by the demon, Lorelai's spirit will not rest until all that she perceives as having wronged her have paid. As a Randall, Cole must take up the family tradition of demonic snake charming to separate Lorelai's ghost from the evil spirit before dispatching it for good. Basically, the plan goes like this: set Lorelai free, trap the demon back inside the bottle, and kill it with fire. Simple enough, right? It's back to the murder basement for our group of intrepid teenage prayer warriors. In case the power of Christ doesn't cut it, Travis brings Weston's trusty shotgun for backup in a truly Texas-pilled move. Cole lights the furnace to set the mood, and the four of them prepare to summon their devilish opponent, the only way that they know how. Another solemn, pensive round of Spin the Bottle. This one's for Mila and Weston. Oh, and JP, too. Right now, Sheriff Stanton arrives home to find his daughter missing after doing basically nothing to ensure that she would stay put. Back in the basement, the kids develop a working theory of Lorelai's motives. I mean, it was the careless action of those kids back in the 1970s that set her off, and the only way to stop her is through the power of true love. So no goofing around this time. These kisses need to be serious, guys. Soon into their third round of Spin the Bottle in less than 48 hours, the demonic spirit makes her presence known by forcing Cole and Casey's faces together like a kid with Barbies. Apparently, Lorelai likes to watch. Yikes! Wigged out by the hotness of Cole and Casey's makeout sesh, Sophie forgets the rules to spin the bottle and locks herself in the closet to hide in shame. It's here that Lorelai pounces on her latest victim, again employing her soul-sucking kiss of death. with. Man, that cheer squad is gonna have some serious holes to fill in this season. With Sophie down for the count, Travis takes up arms against Lorelai's ghostly form as it emerges from the darkness. Predictably, shotgun blasts have no effect on ghosts, demons, or demon-possessed ghosts. Travis does manage to blast a huge gas in a gas line before running upstairs in a panic. Lorelai follows, and Travis meets the same sucky fate as his friends before him. Having failed to prevent the demise of two more of their group, Cole and Casey are done playing games. They draw Lorelai out by dangling the cursed bottle over the furnace's flames. It's time to end this once and for all. Following an impassioned speech in which Cole expresses his love for his sweet old grandma, Lorelai is separated from the grips of demonic possession, and her spirit is set free. Without its host, the demon reverts to its unholy smoke form and slinks back harmlessly into the awaiting bottle. Super Cop Stanton arrives on the scene to find Travis laid out on the living room floor. Casey runs to the cries of her panicked pops, and the two embrace in relief. Back downstairs, Cole attempts to end his family curse once and for all by placing the bottle in the awaiting flames of the furnace. Either the demon doesn't take too kindly to this, or Travis's handiwork on the gas line has caught up to them, because fire immediately spreads throughout the open cellar. In the living room, Casey and her father hear a loud boom. Okay, these are some pretty glaring holes in the gang's logic here. I mean, since when has more spin the bottle been the answer to any of their problems? And why would a ghost be vulnerable to shotgun fire? Open the schools. Even the marching orders they received from Father Harris seem somewhat questionable. By now, they've all gotten a good look at Lorelai, and a demonic ghost that's murdering your friends right and left would probably make a lasting impression. That said, they should have noticed her reptilian features, such as her long, needle-like fangs and vertically slit eyes. According to Harris, the demon came from fire, and that's what it will take to destroy it. Instead, they should have tried working the reptile angle to expose a possible weakness. But what are reptiles susceptible to? Not heat, but extreme cold. Before returning to the cellar with nothing but a shaky plan and a prayer, the teens should have loaded up on supplies to put the demon in deep freeze. Liquid nitrogen might be hard to come by for high schoolers in rural Texas, but dry ice is readily available at many grocery stores. Would buckets of super chilled water be enough to send Lorelai into a state of frost-induced hibernation? With her reptilian nature on full display, it's kinda worth a shot. Assuming the science-based approach isn't their thing, the answer to their problems with Lorelai may have been staring them in the face all along. Somebody gotta match her freak. This whole ordeal started when the poor girl was refused a kiss during a game of Spin the Bottle. I mean, she just wants her turn, damn it. From her previous encounters with both Mila and JP, it's clear that Sophie has no reservations about macking on her female counterparts. Time to take one for the team and give the snake girl a kiss she'll never forget. Cole wakes up sometime later in a hospital bed. He's a little banged up, but in decent shape overall for someone who just survived a demon-fueled gas explosion. In a chair in the corner of the room, Casey stirs from her own slumber and runs to his side for yet another sloppy smack on the lips. Finally free from the pervy gaze of Cole's deceased grandmother. Back at the old Randall house, a crew of workers are cleaning up after the aftermath of the blaze. One sharp-eyed cleaner spots something in the ashes of the furnace, a bottle with an odd snake-scale pattern. A strange, smoky substance swirls inside as he holds the bottle up to the light. Let's just hope that he's careful, because as teenagers in this Texas town know, one spin of this bottle could be your last. Crazy, stupid, spooky, hilarious. Spin the bottle. I mean, hey, what else is there to say? Those kids spun the bottle. And while these weren't some of my favorite characters in all of How to Beat Them, I mean, I thought the movie was pretty entertaining. But let me know down in the comments if there's anything that you would have done differently. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe, and check out that How to Beat playlist for more videos just like this one. I'm the Guy. We'll see you on the next video, and have a damn good day.